I'm the awesome tutor, and today we're going to be looking at respiration, and anaerobic respiration and aerobic respiration, and the effects of exercise on the body. First of all, what is respiration? Respiration is the process of breaking down food molecules to release energy for the cells. So when you eat food, they're broken down into glucose, which is actually very important for respiration, and this is converted into energy for the cells. The respiration does not create energy. No, you cannot create energy, but you can transfer it. So it converts the broken down substances of the food molecules to release energy for the cells. Why respire? What does it do? Well, the main thing is energy. What do we need the energy for? For the muscles to contract. We are always moving. Our heart is always beating. We've got muscles all over our body, and these muscles are contracting. To contract, they need energy. So for movement, for example. Also, synthesis reactions. Synthesis reactions are basically reactions for building, like making you grow. This is done by making large molecules from small molecules. And an example of this is amino acids to proteins. So we've got synthesis reactions, small molecules to large molecules. Building reactions. Building. We've also got to keep a constant temperature. Now this is not for all animals or all plants, but mainly for mammals and birds, because we need to keep a constant temperature so our enzymes do not denature and so all our cells are functioning properly. For example, if it's hot, we'll use energy to produce sweat, which will cool our body down. If it's cold, we'll use energy to keep our body warm. Now the next questions are how and where. Let's answer where first. Okay, so where does respiration take place? It takes place all over your body. It takes place in your cells and in specifically the mitochondria of your cells. Before we move further, let's get one thing straight. Respiration is not breathing. This is not respiration. Respiration is converting the glucose to energy. The breaking down of food molecules to produce energy for the cells. That's respiration, not breathing. Here you've got a cell. All these tiny things are mitochondria. Now mitochondria has an adaptation. It actually has a folded inner membrane. And this folded inner membrane provides a larger surface area for the enzymes to catalyze the reaction, and that reaction being respiration. So, folded inner membrane, more surface area, more efficient respiration. Now let's move on to the how question. And in the how question, we're going to look at aerobic and anaerobic respiration. But before we move on, respiration in mitochondria only occurs for aerobic respiration, not anaerobic respiration. Let's move on to the types of respiration. Okay, so here we've got aerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration, and here are the general word equations, which you need to know. You need to memorize them. They frequently ask you in your exams, what is the word equation, blah, 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 or they will give you parts of the equation and they will ask you to fill in the spaces. So for aerobic respiration, oxygen from the air and glucose from the breakdown of your food produces carbon dioxide and water and energy. Now, an easier way to remember the products of this is by looking at breathing. So you breathe in oxygen, you eat food, glucose, and when you breathe out, you should know it's a common fact that you breathe out carbon dioxide. And if you get a mirror or a cold surface and you breathe on it, it will become misty or foggy or whatever you want to call it, and that's actually the water. And of course, respiration, main function, to give you energy. Now, just because I mentioned breathing, do not associate it with respiration too much. Respiration, remember, it's producing the energy for your cells. Breathing is completely different, but they are linked. Anaerobic respiration, glucose, only glucose, you can notice there is no oxygen here, into lactic acid and of course energy. Now, you breathe anaerobically when there is not enough oxygen. So aerobic respiration is respiration with oxygen. Anaerobic respiration is respiration without oxygen, or when there's not enough oxygen. Now, when is there not enough oxygen? Say you're sprinting or exercising, really extreme exercise. You're going to run out of breath, and there will not be enough oxygen to get to your muscles fast enough to provide you with the energy. So your muscles, they switch to anaerobic respiration, which uses the glycogen that it's stored and converts that into glucose to give you lactic acid and energy. I'm going to go into more detail about this glycogen store after this. So, lactic acid. Lactic acid is a very big problem in anaerobic respiration. Lactic acid prevents your muscles from contracting efficiently. And there's another thing with anaerobic respiration, is it does not produce as much energy as aerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration produces a lot of energy, but anaerobic respiration produces not as much energy, so little energy. And this lactic acid, it will build up in your muscles. And of course, this is what will make it prevent the muscles from contracting efficiently, and so you need to get rid of it, which I will go on to later. And these are the main points on aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Now on to the effects of exercise on the body. Okay, so exercise and its effects on the body. Before we go deeper into this topic, we need to talk about muscle tissue, or muscle cells, or muscles. Muscles are very vital for exercise because they contract to allow you to move. You need to move to exercise. Here are some key points. Muscle tissue is made up of protein fibers which contract, that's the main thing, contract to allow movement. And they need energy to contract, and this energy comes from respiration. Either anaerobic or aerobic. Mitochondria, remember, is where aerobic respiration takes place. Here we've got a muscle cell, very beautifully drawn, with the nucleus and lots of mitochondria. Now they might ask you about some adaptations of the muscle cell for its job to contract. Well, it's got lots of mitochondria for aerobic respiration, to produce energy to allow it to contract. It also has a glycogen store which can be converted into glucose rapidly during exercise. So let's go and talk about glycogen a bit more. Glycogen is actually a carbohydrate. It is not a sugar like glucose. And the muscle, it actually stores the glucose broken down from your food into glycogen. Why? Because glucose is soluble and glycogen is insoluble. It's like your fat. It's a store of energy for later use. Glucose into glycogen, and the muscle stores this. Why the muscles store it and not all the other cells? Because muscles, they're the ones that contract and allow movement, and this requires a lot of energy. So that's why they have the glycogen store. So then the glucose can then be converted back to provide energy anaerobically, or combined with the oxygen from the air aerobically to provide energy for the muscle to contract. Now on to the actual effects of exercise and what happens during exercise. Okay, so during exercise your heart rate increases, something happens to your arteries, breathing rate and breathing depth. So as I said, your heart rate increases. Why does it increase? So it can supply more blood to the muscles. Why more blood? What's in the blood? You've got the oxygen, you've got the glucose. What do you need them for? Respiration. What do you need respiration for? Energy. What do you need energy for? Contract the muscles to help you exercise. Your arteries also dilate. What does dilate mean? Well, your arteries widen. Remember, arteries supply oxygenated blood from the heart to the parts of your body, in this case the muscles, which contract, allowing you to move. So if they are wider, then more blood, there's an increased blood flow. Increased blood flow or rate of blood flow. So, more oxygen, more glucose can get to the muscles. And one other main thing is, remember, respiration, especially aerobic respiration, carbon dioxide is produced, and carbon dioxide is actually a poisonous gas, which is why you breathe it out. It's a waste product of respiration. And the carbon dioxide, if it builds up, it's going to kill you because it's toxic. So, with the heart rate increasing, the arteries dilating, more blood flow to the muscles, but also the removal of carbon dioxide is faster. So removal of CO2, faster rate. Rate of CO2 removal increases. Now your breathing rate also increases. And your breathing depth increases. Know the difference between breathing rate and breathing depth. Breathing rate, breathing depth. Okay? So, breathing rate. If that increases and your breathing depth increases, that means you're getting more air, more oxygen from the air into your lungs. And the air, which contains oxygen, so then more oxygen to the muscles. So that the muscles can contract more. Why? Because there's more air into the lungs. And also more CO2 removed at a faster rate. Because CO2 is toxic, we don't want it, that's why we breathe it out. And during exercise, you respire more, so you create more energy, but also you create more carbon dioxide, and that needs to be removed. And now we're going to move on to the benefits of exercise. Okay, so something happens to your heart and your lungs. As you do more exercise, your heart becomes larger, as do your lungs, and both of them develop a bigger and more efficient blood supply, which means you can respire more efficiently and you will run out of breath at a longer time, and you will require anaerobic respiration much later. Whereas someone who is not fit His heart is small, lungs are small, blood supply is not that big and not as efficient. He will require anaerobic respiration, or she, much earlier when he's exercising. And now I'm going to move on to something that is only required of the higher tier students. So if you're lower tier, you can stop the video. If you're higher tier, keep watching. Okay, so this is only for higher tier students. We're going to talk about oxygen debt. Oxygen debt is extra oxygen taken into the body to complete the breakdown of lactic acid by the process of aerobic respiration. I've included the definitions of aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Just to remind you, complete breakdown of glucose using oxygen to produce energy with carbon dioxide and water as waste products. Anaerobic respiration, incomplete breakdown of glucose without oxygen. This is a bad pen. To produce energy with lactic acid as waste product. And lactic acid is very important. And oxygen debt. So the lactic acid, it builds up in your muscles while you're exercising. And you don't want lactic acid because it prevents the muscles from contracting efficiently. And so the lactic acid is moved to the liver, where extra oxygen from the air is taken into the body to completely break down the lactic acid to produce carbon dioxide and water by a process of aerobic respiration. So, just to recap, extra oxygen taken into the body to completely break down liver by aerobic respiration to produce carbon dioxide and water. Now, without oxygen, oxygen debt cannot happen. It's in the name. You cannot break down lactic acid completely without the oxygen. And that's basically it for the revision topic, so for the respiration topic. So, bye.